What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Hangin with Matty D. This is episode 32, I think it is. The guy we have in the house with us today, I pay him monthly to get my body in peak physical condition. That's not all he does, but he is coach and owner of CrossFit 40th here in San Diego, the gym that I go to, along with all my other colleagues that I lift with in the afternoons. But we have Jesse Malcomb in the house with us tonight. Jesse, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, first off, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Yes.
Everybody's mom. I don't know, this is coming out Wednesday, but if you're watching live, happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Right, to Doris.
Yeah, there you go. Doris
Mom.
and Leslie,
Yes.
there you go. But, so Jesse owns the gym I work at. He's an interesting guy. He's an engineer turned entrepreneur. But, let's get into that, man. So you are from Colorado?
Colorado, yep.
What brought you on here?
So, like you said, worked as an engineer for a long time out in Boulder, where I went to school. Started a spin-off of the company I was working with, a small defense contractor, and went pretty well. Went through the motions. Ended up selling off to a private equity firm. I learned a very valuable lesson in business trust. I was in a basically a partnership with kind of a family friend.
Okay.
And didn't get things on paper because I just assumed everything would be okay. And in the end, it was kind of like with Facebook, but on a much smaller scale. Of in the end, I didn't really have nearly as much of the company that I thought I did. So got out of that, was actually able to walk away with quite a bit of money just because of the way they did it wasn't very kosher, and was able to negotiate out a pretty strong settlement, and really at that point had money in the bank, and my parents had moved out here, back out to San Diego, because this is where we were originally from. And right about the time that I started college they moved back out to San Diego, and my dad had passed from lung cancer a couple years prior to me coming back here, and so I wanted to be out here closer to my mom, and I was in the solar industry, so this was really the hub for it. So when that opportunity came, literally right after I signed the settlement, about 48 hours later, I was in a U-Haul truck out to here. And so just moved quickly. My family moved a lot growing up, so I had no problem being able to just kind of
picking up and going,
turn the switch. And I really do love Colorado. Like, if there's anywhere else I'm gonna live, it will be Colorado. But it's one of those things where you're there most of your life, and you're like kind of over it.
Yeah, you need something different,
right? Like, even when I hear people out here, and I absolutely love San Diego, and they're like, oh, I'm kind of tired of it, and now I empathize with that, because I'm like, how could you be tired of it? But if you're at any place for long enough, and need to make a change, like, it's going to, it doesn't matter where it's going to be.
You can always go back
that
too.
Change. Exactly. So came out here. It was great because there were so many different opportunities in the solar industry, being closer to my mom, and then that's how I got back out here, and it's been about 9 years, and absolutely love it. Like I said, I do love going back to Colorado, and trying to travel around, like Pacific Northwest, stuff like that. But yeah, it's been pretty great out here.
And that was what you said, 2000. You moved back here 2000.
2011.
Oh, okay. So not too crazy long ago.
No.
Yeah. So you came out here with the aspiration of staying in the same industry, which is obviously solar, and obviously we live in sunny San Diego. So it's like a phenomenal place for it. And I know I see all the different companies around here. So did you come out here with a job working for them, or were you just like, I'm going to wing it when I get out there? I have this experience level.
So when I came out here, I had, from the settlement that I had with the company, which was actually, so about 6 months after I left, they went bankrupt. Oh, okay. So it was kind of karma coming around. So I was actually the only one to walk away from the company with money.
Nice.
And so it was an unfortunate end, but a lot of really good lessons in that. And I always knew I wanted to start something again, but it was like, okay, I'm going to come out here and just enjoy California, and worked for a couple different companies out here, and it was good, enjoyed it, but I think I was kind of on my way out of the industry anyway, because and this'll, if anyone's listening that's in the renewable energy field, this might realm up a little bit, but I found that there was just a lot of hypocrisy in the solar industry. And while a lot of the renewable energies criticize the oil company, in a lot of ways they act the same, because in and of themselves, each of, wind, solar, hydro, geothermal, they all have their place. And if they combined forces, it would be they could really do some damage. They could really actually make an impact. But each of them kind of wants to stake their claim as the one that, we can be the solution. And quite honestly, none of them can be the solution in and of themselves. But if they were to, again, combine forces to do that, they really could. And it was unfortunate, because you saw so much of this potential in that, but there was so much infighting. And it just became, to me, I'm like, well, how is this any different than the oil companies and the natural gas that they're purporting to be better than, or better solutions? Like, well, I would see these inflated numbers, and I would see these things where I'm like, I don't feel comfortable putting these numbers out, because they're just they're not based on reality. They're based on marketing. They're based on a little bit of deception, as far as what I'm talking about with how much they can actually produce. To be able to come out and say, solar can absolutely, take care of the energy problem in the United States. It cannot. Like but
alone, you're saying?
Alone. And they just can't seem to get around that and actually be able to work with the other renewable energies to do that. And so I just saw too much. The hypocrisy just got to me a little bit. So I became pretty disaffected when I came out here. It was like, well, I'm just working for another, because I was a true believer. I mean, I've been a libertarian most of my life. I mean, most of my voting life, and so I believe in free market, but also I do understand that there are needs for things like renewables that needed a little bit of a government boost into that. And while fundamentally I would get kind of trashed for even saying that I support that, I do. I'm not absolutely by the letter when it comes to that. I saw that as, okay, great, the government provided some assistance and it really started getting it going. But instead of seeing kind of the good in that, I saw a lot of just kind of that same corporate attack towards just trying to get profit, trying to get dollars, which I understand, being, having started a couple small businesses myself, that is important. But, I was a believer in this, and it was unfortunate, because I really did, kind of become disaffected by that, and kind of just slowly lost the passion that I had for it. And it just became, another just kind of, selling energy out there. And for me, I still, I hope they rally. I hope they come together.
Is there anybody pushing for that, for that to happen, or a smaller company trying to make it all work together?
I mean, not really. I mean, not that I saw. And
just because, like you said, everybody thinks theirs is like the answer rather than working together.
And that's really, and I get it in that a lot of them are fighting for government dollars, and they want to make a statement and to get out there. But when you just think about how many roofs solar can hit, how many places in the U.S. produce enough wind for wind energy, and there are some great places. How many places have dams that can support hydro, and then how many places have natural geothermal that ability to actually produce that. It's very site specific. So altogether they could really make an impact. But I don't know. So for me, I just personally, it was one of those things. I was like, well, I really did have a passion for it, and I'm a passionate person. I like to be passionate about the thing that I'm in. And while I made very good money doing it, it wasn't fun anymore. It became like another corporate job, and I'm like, well, if I'm going to do that, I can honestly go and work for the oil and gas companies, and actually make even more money. So with that, and it also kind of took me out of the pure engineering. I was in semiconductor engineering before all this, and actually more of a lot of the research that we did is small business innovative research, where the government would allocate a certain amount of dollars that wouldn't go to the large, like Lockheed and Northrop Grumman, those big defense. They would allocate this, and they would be really novel concepts. And so it was a lot of really pure engineering, which was really fun. A lot of it was theoretical because a lot of the solicitation that they had were, kind of pie in the sky things, but they were fun to work on. And so that, to kind of go from that to when we created the spinoff of doing, solar design, and that then went to, instead of just working on large commercial where it was, we were just working on the design, it then got into more of the business aspects, which I had wanted to get into anyway, but it was kind of going along that path, but that passion had, kind of run from me. And when we had the opportunity to open the gym, the last place that I had worked for, I was consulting for them, and they wanted me to go out and move to Long Island, New York. And I don't know if you've been to Long Island, New York.
I'm from there. Yeah.
Okay.
I know there.
So, and, well, I used to have to travel there at least once a month, and I never saw the sun. So, and so I actually do like the East Coast, but it was one of those things where it was an opportunity to do that again, and to really go all in with it, and that's how 40 started. So
so you came from you were coaching at another gym when you came out here, or
no, not really. I'd been competing in Olympic lifting since 2001. Started coaching. I actually coached Special Olympics in Colorado in powerlifting from about 2003 to 2010, 2002 to 2010. So that's really where my coaching experience started, was with the Special Olympic athletes, and that's one of the best experiences I ever had, and really trying to actually started a nonprofit last year that starting to actually get through some of the red tape. But
so if we could touch on that a little bit, because it intrigues me. So you coach them, meaning did you have athletes from just Colorado, or was it athletes like from all over the country that would come and like Olympic weightlift, or how did that work with you?
So for Special Olympics, so they have specific programs with each state.
Okay.
And this was one. Boulder, Colorado, had its own through their city rec center program. Actually had their own independent program, which is actually, I'm trying to model the one that I'm going to do out here of that, because there currently isn't a powerlifting program here within the San Diego Special Olympics, because each state has a division, and then each major region, and then sometimes the larger cities also have their own to support the athletes that are in that. And so Boulder had its own, and that's how I kind of got into it, just as a volunteer coach. And so they would recruit athletes just off of most of these kids were doing other sports, and their powerlifting coach had left, and I had inquired about doing it, because I'd always kind of had I don't know, people ask me why I got into it. I don't know. For me, it was, some people like helping, give a couple dollars at homeless on the street, giving to. For me, it was these athletes, these people had a raw deal from the beginning. They never had a choice. They never, and so for me, it was, I don't know, just a calling that I'd always had, and it was something where I saw the benefit of athletics to more than just, getting in physical shape, but actually the confidence that's involved in, learning a sport, the discipline and everything else. And, one of my, proudest moments from all of that had nothing to do with their performance, but had to do with one of my guys, Peter. When we started out with him, he couldn't really hold a job, and I mean, which is pretty common, but some of the more high functioning in that population can start to, I know Safeway, which is Vaughn's out here, at least back in Colorado, had a program where they would bring in Special Olympics athletes to do, bagging and stuff like that. And so he didn't quite have that ability before, and through a couple years of coaching with him, he was able to get his first job. And so that, that made me feel better than even, just what he did as an athlete himself, but seeing where, especially and actually for women as well, but for men especially in that population, to understand and appreciate kind of what they can do and build that confidence to where, and there's a structure and discipline, and that that really makes a huge impact. And that's why the whole Special Olympics movement is so impactful beyond just getting these kids active. And and I say kids, but I mean the age ranges from 5 to 80.
Oh, wow.
It's the entire spectrum. And so it's great to get them to move, and then it also just impacts a lot of their other life, that idea of being able to socialize and have structure and everything else. It just helps in their general just ability to get along. Because what I found with working with that for almost a decade was they just want to be treated like everybody else.
Yeah.
Like and the more you can do that, and the more you can respect that, understanding that there are special things you need to do with it, but that they're people. Like they're not. There's no special. It's just people.
Yeah.
And so when people start to do that and start to treat them just as anyone else, then that's really where they can grow themselves. And so that was really my introduction into coaching, which was great, because it really helped me with patience and discipline and communication, because the spectrum of the cognitive disabilities was all over. And so whether I'd have to use tactile coaching cues or visual, or depending on the athlete, it really forced me to be patient with it. And I really wasn't a patient person, and I was still in my 20s and everything, but it was a really great experience. I mean, I'll say this, to the end, I got more out of it than they did. And so that's really what got me into kind of the passion of coaching. And I had always wanted to start a gym, but especially in Olympic lifting, there's not a whole lot of money in it. There's just, it's a very small sport. It's, if you don't have much, understanding of Olympic lifting, you're not alone, because it is a small sport. Back in the 50s and 60s, the U.S. was big in it. We were very competitive, but after that, there are sports like football and basketball, and most of the athletes that would have done very well in those sports, or would have done very well in Olympic lifting, went to those sports for good reason. There's they're in every high school. There's money involved. There's a lot more potential in that. So that kind of took away the potential talent from that. So as it is, there just wasn't that many people getting into it. When that many people doing it. When I started in 2001, there just there was you knew everyone almost in the nation that was doing it, because there just wasn't that many. And then CrossFit came along, and it actually made it a viable thing, because it's brought attention to it. And that's really where I was able to actually take the passion from coaching and actually turn it into, okay, well, after what had happened with a company out in Colorado, and always knowing I had wanted to get back into starting a business, this was the opportunity to do that with something that I truly loved. And with a path to, okay, well, I don't want to sacrifice absolutely everything. I've got, a fairly long career for my age and what I was doing, but it's like, this is an opportunity to actually do that and still be able to, be financially viable with it. And so, and that's really what got us to start it out.
Yeah. And you guys you opened in what, 2012? Oh, okay. So pretty much right after you moved here, you opened the gym, right? You said 2011 you came over here, San Diego?
Yeah.
And then...
had worked out here, for about, a little over a year.
Okay.
And then made that. So my business partner, who was also my coach out in Colorado, so he was an architect by trade and by education, moved into more of a full-time coaching aspect. I mean, he is an absolute, true believer in the sport, as far as kind of just gave up his career to just, that's how much passion he had into coaching it. And so he had the expertise in, running a facility, and especially the just the spatial awareness of how to design a gym, which I am absolutely not at all proficient at in it by any means. But so it was great to kind of combine that to when he had come out here. He was in Colorado. I kind of told him about the overall fitness climate out here, because San Diego was always in, top 5 of kind of the major hubs for, the fitness industry, as far as, just kind of per capita density of people who frequent health clubs. So this is, if you can kind of make it here, you can make it anywhere, that kind of thing. So with that, telling them, hey, you got to get out here. Like if this is what you want to do. And then saying, hey, there's some opportunity. There was a lot of, strong CrossFit gyms out here, but we decided to come in with a different niche of, we're going to be a strength gym. And I had experience with, 2 other small businesses, growing them, and all the mistakes we made doing that. I learned a lot from that. And so it was nice to have that. And then Dave's experience, Dave, my business partner, with everything he had in management and actually running the facility and developing coaches, because he had been, kind of coaching the coaches and running the coaching certifications for USA weightlifting for a long time. And so using that as, his network and understanding in that, and then bringing my, business development side and merging those two. And, one of the things that I learned from my last company in Colorado was we actually were able to start out with quite a bit of money, and raise some money, and we spent a lot of it really quickly. And we had a lot of contracts on the books, a lot of money coming in, but with anything like that, where it's, kind of contract work and you're getting paid by certain stages of the actual project, learned very quickly about cash flow and starting small and starting organic. And so, I stashed as much money as I could away, and we started out very small. We started out with about $3,000, and Dave had some equipment. He likes to say it was about $10,000 worth of equipment. I think that's just a sentimental value to him, because it was mostly weightlifting equipment. Also, it's about 10 years old. Got a couple of small business loans, like $8,000 a piece, and went from there. And started out in a little shoebox, 1,800 square feet. And this was the time where, 2012, social media was picking up, but it was one of those things where I was fortunate enough with my last company to really get on the wave of, okay, this is going to be an important thing. And there was a lot of businesses that were like, no, we're not paying attention to this. And so working a lot on that, even when we were very, very small, just understanding it takes years for this to develop. And it's a lot of work you put in that doesn't bring you immediate benefit. But we were able to get on that train, and knock on wood, we're doing pretty well, and have had it just like anything. We've gotten to almost 6 years now, and there's always hurdles. There's always, whenever anyone asks me, I've been in small business most of my life. It's like, what's small business? What is it like? I'm like, you're a firefighter. You wake up in the morning, you put out fires, and you do that forever. And it doesn't get easier, but you get more resilient because you've dealt with enough stuff, and you realize you become less scared of things. Because you're worried, oh, these things could come, these things could derail us, whatever, and then they come and they don't, because you work through the problem. And a lot of it is just a war of attrition of how long can you last? How long can you go without quitting? Because no matter how ambitious you are and how optimistic you are, you're going to want to quit many times. But you just keep ignoring that, and you just keep solving problems.
Keep pushing.
And even when things go well, just realizing that there's always going to be something around the corner that you're going to have to deal with. And so you don't become complacent, and you recognize that it's always going to be somewhat of a struggle, but that it's going to build you as a stronger and stronger business person to where eventually, again, those things are never going to go away, but you're going to have developed the skills and the network and the people that can help you. And that's what's great about this world, is that you meet so many great people in so many different fields that can help you out. And if you do the right thing and treat people well, then those people are going to want to help you out.
No, of course.
And they're going to be like, oh, you have this. Let me call this person, or let me refer you to this, or let me introduce you to this person. And those are the things that make, and that's what I love about small businesses, those connections that you make that you really can't make in the corporate world. Because it goes back to the old days of trade, of just, okay, well, hey, you can help me out with this, I can help you out with that. And it's great to meet other people who have those small business ventures and to just help each other and just understand the passion that we have for it and have that mutual respect, and to be able to say, hey, well, I can introduce you to these people in my network, and you can introduce me to your people, and everyone benefits from it. And it's nice to to not have a zero-sum game where you have to crush the people around you, but it's that no, we're all trying to, as small businesses, trying to succeed. And so the more allies you can have amongst that. And San Diego does have, a great small business community, and it's been great to meet a lot of the, other entrepreneurs that are out here. Yeah. And, it's just been, it's been fun. It's been a blast. And,
it's funny that you say your small business, because if you look at all the other, I'm not going to name names, but other gyms in the area, and everyone has stayed in their spot, and if that's what they want to do, they want to do that. But you guys are one of the few in the CrossFit community that have grown to bigger things, I guess you can say, and opening up new gyms, whereas always gyms are closing and such like that in San Diego, because it's a hard market. I think it's a very difficult market, and like you said, it's one of the 5 most densely populated places where people are constantly being physically fit and stuff like that. And that has to, I think, attribute to the weather and stuff like that, because people are always outside and they want to look good. But for you guys to just have I've been there for about maybe like a year and a half, 2 years, but just the growth that I've seen, even to call you guys a small business, I feel like that's minimal. I think you guys have grown since I've met you, because you look at all these other gyms and they're either staying stagnant or they're closing. Whereas you guys are one of the few that are actually building on top of what you already had, rather than just staying in one spot. And I think that goes to what you said, is people are like, I can quit. And that's like where you see all these other gyms and they're saying, oh, we're not getting any members, yada, yada, yada. And they're like, oh, well, maybe we'll just close the doors and sell the equipment and stuff like that, take the money. We had our little run. But you guys are like, fuck that. We're fucking full force, full head of steam. You guys, you just opened up downtown and stuff. You guys are killing it. You guys are crushing it. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, of course. And then you have the sister locations and everything like that in the area. So you guys are crushing it, though.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys are, man.
And again, a lot of it is just, and I was actually Coach Miguel. So, talking to him yesterday, and just saying so much of this is just being able to just overcome fear. And for some reason, somewhere along the way, failure became a negative word. And I don't know why that ever, because we to err as human, we make mistakes. No one runs the table. No one is even close to perfect. So why would we try to, and I feel this goes all the way from when, from just our educational system all the way through, is, oh, you have to get A's, well, you're not always going to get A's in everything. And that's where you're supposed to learn what your strengths are. And it doesn't mean you don't address your weaknesses, but that why should you, try to fight against something that you're naturally going to have a weakness for, when you can find a strength and develop that. And I just feel like it's totally ass backwards. Building a small business, entrepreneurship is all about that ability to appreciate failure. And that it's, once you get it out of your head as a negative word, so many things get out of your way, because you're like, you know what? yeah, I failed. That's what comes with taking huge risk, and
Mhm.
what comes with learning new things and taking chances. And if you don't take those chances, you can't make those big, you can't have that big success.
Mhm.
You have to venture something, and you have to be willing to understand that failing doesn't make you a failure.
Mhm.
And I know it's the cliche motivational quotes you see on Instagram and everything, but it really is true that you have to be you have to take failure and put it into the positive word category.
Yeah.
That it's part of the process. And once you start doing that, then you realize, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not okay, you learn from it. You don't take it as something personal. You take it as, okay, this is simply this is the price to pay to go through all this, is that you're going to have to mess up, because you learn so much more of the things that you mess up, the things that you fail, than any of your successes.
Yeah, I think you appreciate it more too when you do fail, because you learn so many. Like, what is it? Who invented the light bulb? Edison.
Edison.
He's like, I didn't. He's like, I didn't fail. He's like, I just learned 200 and whatever ways how not to make a light bulb.
Right.
And one day it clicked, and he was like, holy fuck. And you have to. And people, I think. Some people do realize it, but I think a lot of people, like you say, look at fail as a negative term. Like, I've done so many things wrong with this podcast, and I'm like, fuck. But it's just made me better at it, because I know what I have to do. I have to ensure all these different things are met to make sure everything comes together. But I think you make a good point when you have to just get it out of the actual failure category and make it something positive, because it's stepping stones and it's building blocks. And if you fail, you're obviously going to learn how to make the end result. I think is going to be better, because if you do something and it clicks first time, yeah, it's going to be fucking awesome. But in the end game, if down the road something goes wrong, you're going to freak the fuck out, because you've been so used to perfection the whole time. Whereas if you failed along the way, you're like, oh, don't worry about it. We'll just fucking do this and get it rocking and rolling. And
that's it just seems unfortunate that in kind of this coming generation that we're not equipping, the children, these that are going to grow up to be the new entrepreneurs, and not even in entrepreneurship, just in life in general, that without giving them the ability to cope and understand with what failure is, mm-hmm. and be able to deal with it, like you're chopping a leg off, like, right from the beginning. And it's going to make it very, very difficult to, just go through the vicissitudes of life when you cannot even understand or, be able to go through the process of understanding what a failure is, what you can do from that, mm-hmm. and being able to stay optimistic, because you know that it's not a bad thing, but it's now being drilled, oh, you can't fail at this, you can't fail at that. Yeah, you can. Like, mm-hmm. You have to go through that, and you have to learn it early, mm-hmm. because the earlier you learn it, like a language, like anything else, the more you become adept to working through it and to using it as an advantage, rather, mm-hmm. than, something that brings you down or changes your mood, or, one of the key, components of emotional intelligence is being able to, to work and persist through frustration. And so if you don't have that experience in failing and learning how you as a person, because everyone's going to deal with it differently, but you have to deal with it and have, mm-hmm. to learn how you're going to be able to deal with it. And you take that away, and then all of a sudden you're 18, 19, and you've never been told you failed, even though you have. And now all of a sudden you fail, like, mm-hmm. and then you see these catastrophic, responses to it, and it's just, to me, it's just really sad. And it doesn't even go for entrepreneurs; it just goes for just life in general. And so it's sad to see that. And it's for me, the successes that I've had, and I always kind of hesitant to say what successes are, but it's because of I just acknowledge, and I'm not ashamed of my failures, because there's, mm-hmm. a ton of them. But I keep getting back up, and I keep using it as, yeah, that's part of the process. So I don't know.
No, I think you're 100% right, though, man. It's like when they give every kid a trophy and stuff like that, and I feel like that stuff has actually, like, dimmed down a little bit now, the giving every kid a trophy. But it's exactly with what you're saying is, and how he said, in later in life, like something happens, they're like, oh, but I've won my whole life. I get. What do you mean I lost? Like, what does that mean? They're not, and they're not going to perceive it, and they're not going to be able to, I guess, understand what that does, and then that's going to just, I think, send them down a different rabbit hole and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But so we talked about earlier. So you said you were trying to get into politics.
A little bit.
What do you? So just local, or what are you trying? What do you?
I'd like to start with local. I mean, it's always been something I've been interested in. Just growing up, from elementary school and history and political science. I didn't major in that, but took some classes on the side just because I was always fascinated by it, and got into some local libertarian groups when I was in Boulder, and so when I came out here and things got busy and everything, kind of put it aside, and then had an opportunity to get into this Public Leadership Institute, which is run through the San Diego Chamber of Commerce, and they're really trying to push small business owners and different business leaders in the San Diego community that are business focused into getting into local politics to kind of shape the policy to benefit small business, because it is a tough climate here, tax wise, just city wise, as far as housing is a huge problem here, which then extends to commercial property and being able to secure a spot and actually run a successful business. The costs are for many prohibitively high, and I know of a local, and I won't name them, but a local fitness manufacturer that's moving to Nevada because they simply can't deal with the taxes out here, and they can move to Nevada and save a bunch of money. And so it's trying to really get more of that influence into local politics here to shape and change the policy to make it truly, because and I hear a lot with what a lot of the city officials are saying with San Diego is a great small business, and it's getting there, but it needs help. And so this institute was developed to kind of educate and really give an inside view, which is pretty unique, because usually if you get into local politics, you just kind of have to fish around and figure out what forms you need to fill out, or maybe someone who's done it. But this is really good. It's been fantastic. Like I feel very blessed to be part of it, and it's really gone through all of the steps, and it's been fascinating to see, even for just a small to run for even a board of any of the school districts or anything like that, like how involved it is, and how many things you need to do, and so it's given that insight, and it's really kind of enlightened that passion to me to maybe start out again, maybe run for a board or commission out here. I'm looking at hopefully getting into the small business advisory board out here. There's a couple of vacancies coming up in July, and so we actually graduate out of this program in June, so it'll actually be pretty good timing for that. And it's been great to have some contacts in there, and I have a pretty good shot at that. Go from there. I mean, city council. I'd like to go after that, and then kind of just see where it takes me. I mean, 40th to me is first. That's my baby, and there's still. I appreciate you saying that. We've had some success with it, but we still got a lot of work to do. There's still we've really pushed the envelope on it, and so which is great, but also can be very stressful and very. It's finding that life balance, especially when I came out here, which is really what I wanted to do with, the sunshine and getting out to the beach. I actually find that I'm not getting out to the beach as much, but with that, so that's kind of first, but as much as I can do, in local politics, and also just giving back. I do love this city, and, would love to, help, help the city in any way I can, and any of the, expertise that I've developed just on the small business range to make the policies better for other small businesses coming in, because it'd be great if San Diego could really be that, because we have such a great tourist, and we are a destination, and just it's destination spot, and just to understand how vitally important our airport is, and to kind of learn more about the airport authority and what undertaking they've had to really make it easier for people to get out here and to build up the tourism industry out here, but also to then open that up and use that momentum and the dollars from that to really help promote other small businesses getting going out here, because there is that conception that if you go to California, you're going to get taxed, big time, and it's much easier to run in other states. Now, for what we're doing with our, there's no better place to do it. So I understand you can't have your cake and eat it too. We get the taxes are rough here, but we also have a population that is the best for, and so it's one of those things. This was the place to do it, but to make it to where if I can help out and in any way to shape that policy to make it easier for other small business, because it really does help the economy. I mean,
for what you said, it's mind blowing that you said one of the probably manufacturers, and I'm sure it's something that we use in the gym, but that if they're local here in Southern California, that it's going to be cheaper for them to move to a different state and then have to pay for all the shipping and to get everything that they do out here, because I'm guessing this is where a lot of their stuff comes from, that by doing that, it's cheaper than paying taxes in the state. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I know, California's in quite the debt, and so it's, and I understand that, we need to be able to recover some of that. However, you can't completely stifle, especially small business, which is going to bring innovation, which is going to bring more people into, this region and bring more dollars in overall. And that's, you need to raise revenue for the city to do the things you need to do. However, that can't come at the sacrifice of of stifling new business coming in, and that's not just small business. That extends from there as well. But small business is a huge driver, and especially with there's a great industry for microbrews out here. For there's other ones besides fitness that or could really boom out here with better legislation in how easy it is to not only start, but also considering how expensive real estate is, and namely commercial real estate, being able to take out some of those fees and some of those extra expenses that just add up, and at the end of the day, you're like, forget it. So that that's what I'm hoping to do. I'd like to kind of see where that takes me, and
that's good, man.
We'll see.
You're fucking young, dude. I mean, you're older than me, but I'm fucking. But so I got these new things. I got this that I wanted to start doing on the show. You're the first episode that I'm gonna do. So I'm just gonna pick some randomly. I got some chat pack cards, so we're gonna ask some random questions on the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll bring it up a little bit. Okay, I don't like that one to start out with. This one. I think that's the first one. But okay, here's a good one. I don't know. We already talked about that too. See, some of them are. I've read some of them already. But okay. What is one item you own that has virtually no monetary value, but has such sentimental value that you would not sell it for $1,000 or any price? Let's call it any price.
That's a good question. Monetary value. Probably my original weightlifting shoes.
Really?
Yeah, they're. I actually wore them I kept them going for about 9 years. Those things are, and yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, they're busted now. I doubt anyone would buy them for anything. But it's what I kept them around. I could have thrown them away, but I'll keep those forever.
Yeah.
I just love having that reminder of, for me, I've always been an athlete, always been in sports.
Right.
Not necessarily that great in many of them, but I've tried them all.
Yeah.
And weightlifting was one where I wasn't naturally good at it. I became pretty decent, but it was just because of just hard work, and I loved it. And it kind of, to me, set the tone for just, and might sound funny, it set the tone for what I would do in business. Like, it was, for me, just being resilient. Like I would beat people in competition, not because I was better in training or that I was stronger, but I was just, could mentally put it together. And for me, a lot of stuff in business, like the little successes I've had have been because I don't quit, and I'll work harder than the person next to me. Like I will absolutely outwork you. And so that's, to me, kind of represented that, is that I beat the crap out of those shoes over those many years. And I had other sports that I was much better at naturally, but I hated it. Like golf was one, in high school I did really well, and but I didn't want to continue with it. I just didn't. It wasn't fun for me. I was good at it, but it wasn't fun. And weightlifting was one that I didn't pick up right away, but I absolutely loved it. So yeah, that's a little detailed. But
there you go. No, I like this. We'll go one more, and then we'll get you. I don't want to keep you too long, but if you could be the spokesperson for any product on the market, what product would you choose to enthusiastically represent?
Okay, I have to pick something outside of Fortius. What product? Okay, I got a good one, and this is good because I get shit about this all the time. So I drink 5 Hour Energy, and people are like, "Oh my god, that's gonna kill you." I'm like, do you even it's essentially liquid caffeine. Like there's nothing. And I still have yet to have anyone say that it's any worse than having a couple cups of coffee.
Okay.
Plus, yeah, I'm sure it's this small. It's essentially, I could literally just pop a couple caffeine pills, but it's easy to plop that down. It's like, I think it's about the same as a large Starbucks coffee as far as caffeine. So it's like, if you're telling me caffeine's bad for you, fine. It's like, oh, it's got artificial sweeteners in it. It's about this big. So, and it's a boost for me in the morning. And
you drink one every day?
Every day, just one in the morning.
Yeah.
And my blood pressure is, I just checked, it's 118/79. So
you're good. We're good.
So it's good, and blood lipid good across the board. So it's just funny the preconceptions people have about something, and I'm not saying everyone should take it. It's a lot of freaking caffeine, and it's a stimulant, it's a drug, and I'm addicted. Caffeine's one of those things. I don't know. There's so much conflicting, whether it's good or bad, but for me, if it can get that boost in the morning, and I don't like coffee, I don't like the taste of coffee. I understand for people it's a ritual to do that, and I totally get that, but I would never, crap on anyone else for being like, oh, you drink coffee, that's so bad for you. It's like, I know people throw a bunch of sugar and stuff in that, which isn't going to be so good, but it's so funny when I crack one of those open, people are like, oh my god, you do that? I'm like, dude, what? Like I'm, like I'm freaking snorting Coke in the morning or something like that, and it's, I'm sure it's not the healthiest thing in the world, but it's worked well for me, and it's very consistent. So that'd be one I'd totally promote, just because it's so funny to me how people react to it, and how I think how dangerous it is.
One time somebody was like, "Oh, it's bad for your heart" or something like that, but I mean, to each his own, Right. 5 Hour Energy. That's a good. I would have never fucking thought that. I was like, that's why I love these fucking questions that we have. We use them when we go on walks and stuff like that. We just ask each other random questions. But just so if people want to follow you, find out more about you, how do people go about doing that?
Instagram, Coach Jesse _40s.
Yeah, we'll tag you and everything too, man.
Just search Jesse Malcomb.
Yeah.
For LinkedIn. Hopefully. Might see my name on a ballot in the coming future if you do.
Poke the hole in it or whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I think they got rid of that after the 2000. Yeah. Now you got to fill it in after all those hanging chads and everything like that. So,
But Jesse, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure to have on. But guys, follow him, follow us, subscribe, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like. Jesse, again, thank you for gracing us with your presence. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I'll probably see you tomorrow at the gym. But till next time, guys. Adios.
Thanks,
man. Have a good one, guys. Peace.